Okay, folks, we're coming to you live from Kalispell, Montana. I'm your host, James White. It is let's see, what is this, the 19th day of March 2022. And it looks like we have Roger here on the show. Roger's coming in now. We're having a special broadcast this weekend to cover the Baby Cyrus, the great news on the front of Baby Cyrus, where Baby Cyrus has been returned back to their home, to his home and to his family, and we are delighted beyond belief to hear that news. And we should be getting joined here. We should be joined by Roger Roots and John Lamb here anytime. I think they're here now. Hey, fellas, are you there on the line? Can you hear me okay? Okay, I think they're there. They're probably just working on their audio right now, and we'll have them up here just in a moment. I'm your host, James White, and again, we're coming to you live from Kalispell, Montana. We've covered that we had an interview here a few days ago with Diego Rodriguez, who is the grandfather of Baby Cyrus, and he was on the show a couple days ago, and I think the interview went well, and now we have some great news to report. The Baby Cyrus was, as I said, released from the state. Looks like Roger was here, and now he is maybe gone. And now he's back. The Baby Cyrus is back home with his parents, where he belongs. And we are going to have Roger Roots and John Lamb here on the show in a moment. I think they're trying to get on right now. And once they do, we'll have them on the show here, and they'll give us their in-depth analysis from being right there on the scene, right down. This color is really kind of messed up. Here they are, right down there in. The video isn't working. Okay, let's see here. Maybe I can ask him to start the video. Maybe that'll work. At any rate, the video may not be working for Roger Roots and for Roger and John, but is the audio working? Fellas, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Okay, so folks, we're trying to get, as you can see, if you're watching this through video, they are here. We're just trying to get the audio and video portion worked out. Right now, I cannot hear them if they're talking. Fellas, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. This is we're connecting with them here in Idaho, and we expect them to be on here. Let's see here, Nick Ramlow. Let's see, let's add Nick on here and see how that works out. We're going to try to do what we can to get this connected here, folks. We're working on it. Hey, Nick. Okay, I can see you. There you guys go. Okay, we're live. We're live right now, in case you guys are wondering. Let me ask him to unmute. Roger, how are you, sir? Are you there with John? Can you hear me okay? All right, we're live on the air. I'm going to go ahead and dump your other video, your other feed. If that's okay with you guys? I'm gonna get rid of that.
Apparently, it's not working. Maybe Homeland Security may have intercepted my signal.
That's probably what it is. I'm sure. Well, fellas, you there? There you are, Roger Roots and John Lamb. Appreciate both of you guys, and I know you're there connecting on Nick's phone. And I just want to say here from myself to you guys, all of you, and everybody there. What a great job. Thanks so much for all that you did. We had an excellent ending. I can tell you something, fellas. I've worked with CPS and done a lot of work for a long time, man, uncovering CPS, and I have to say that I am completely surprised that they actually they succumbed to the pressure and they allowed Baby Cyrus. I say allowed. They never really had that right in the first place, but we're speaking, we're just speaking plainly here. I've never seen them just after a week give up like that and sort of let the child go back to the house. So what you guys did there and the rallying that you did and the support that Baby Cyrus had, I think that was the difference. So I just want to welcome both you guys here to the broadcast and thank you both for all the work that you've done.
Well, thank you, Jim. Yeah, it was a great victory. It has to be said. It was a great victory. I think, they can withstand a little bit of pressure, but we put a lot of pressure on them. I mean, there were over 100 protesters at times, and probably hundreds more coming on the way. And they were monitoring our social media, I'm sure of that. And also, we were prepared to do something that is not commonly done, which is protesting right at the house of the judge. And we were going to be right there for day after day after day. Now, you know, they can withstand a lot, but I think when the judge and by the way, we had people protesting at the police chief's house, the arresting officer's house. So pretty gutsy protesters, and I think we were able to overcome the barriers that frequently prevent such things from happening.
Brilliant move. When I read that, brilliant move showing up at these people's houses and protesting there. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're just folks like us, right? If they're going to violate the law and they're going to kidnap children, then they deserve to be exposed. They deserve to be pointed out to their neighbors, because I'm sure there's children in the neighborhood that they have to worry about being kidnapped as well. And I'm just so you guys know, I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff that I've covered on this, but I'm pretty hard line when it comes to Child Protective Services. I think they're crooks, and I think a lot of them should be in jail. I think they're an unlawful agency, and they steal children without due process. You guys got any, Roger, you certainly having a legal background. I know, John, you've covered this as well. Any thoughts on that? Get from both you guys. What do you think about that, about Child Protective Services? I think basically being kidnappers, if you want to know the truth.
Absolutely. I mean, life, liberty, and property shall not be taken without due process of law. They have totally created these agencies without any constitutional authority that just take child after child after child. And we've had found data that in Idaho alone, they take 1,500 babies or children per year from families in Idaho alone. And there are also massive payments. Lots of money is involved in this. It's $1 million per child. Totally corrupt.
Oh, it's absolutely corrupt. There's no doubt about that. So if you can, for those folks they're tuning in that may not be, maybe catching this because it happened kind of late in the day yesterday. John, thanks so much for sending out all your messages and your activity on Facebook and keeping people updated. Just to reset for the folks that may not really even know what's going on here this Saturday morning. Can you guys just give us a recap of sort of the last week? We had Diego on the broadcast here a few days ago, and he went over things pretty well. But can you kind of give us just a cliff notes of what happened, and then what happened yesterday? How the word come down? Was it because of the pressure? Who made the call? Actually, was it the judge? Did the DPHS stand up? Did the governor? I heard the governor said that he has no control over the family services. Is what I heard. I'm not sure if that's true or if that's just a rumor. But over to you guys.
Yes, so about a week ago, just to recap it really quickly. This family missed a doctor's appointment. It's all they did. They took their baby to the doctor because they was concerned about the doctor, concerned about Baby Cyrus, that he wasn't maybe eating real well or throwing up his food. So they took him to the doctor, and the doctor was following up with all these appointments. That Friday, the only thing they didn't do is they just missed the doctor's appointment. The baby was doing fine in the parents' care. This doctor and CPS issued an emergency order to take that baby within hours after that doctor's appointment was missed, which is unprecedented. This doesn't happen. You don't take a baby that quick without any probable cause or information. They stole that baby. Then they had that emergency hearing that following Tuesday, and the judge just ordered the baby in foster care immediately. The baby wasn't going to be put in the hospital. It was going to be put in foster care. And then they was going to have another hearing in another month. The parents weren't even going to get this baby for a whole month back. So a whole bunch of peaceful protesters. We weren't violent people. All we're wanting is accountability. This baby back home, and this corrupt CPS office here in Boise, Idaho. They're nothing but corrupt, evil people that do this to our good parents like this. And so all the pressure I think we put on them by protesting peacefully, by going to these public officials' homes and asking for accountability, this pressure is what give that baby back. There was no other court hearing to give the baby back. The CPS just called up and said, "Come and get the baby." And thankfully, yesterday around 1 o'clock, that baby went back to these loving parents, and this thing was resolved, and we're just excited over here.
Now I think I lost your video. Did I lose you guys both? Did I lose your audio and video here? Let's see.
It says low battery. Can you hear us?
Okay, I can hear you.
Nick, we're back. Okay.
We got. So there's been some. Thanks, guys. So there was some reports, and you guys would probably know. A lot of stuff goes around these days. We're living in a land of fake news, so there's a lot of stuff comes out that's not true. But I was under the understanding, as of yesterday, they were starting to concoct a story where it wasn't so much about the baby's health they were worried about, but it's the baby's development. Now that was the next excuse that they were going to try to use. Did you guys hear anything about that, about them saying that it wasn't the health so much, it was the baby's development? Because if it was the health, if you're going to put a child back into a foster home, which for folks of you that don't know, it's like a regular home like you live in. It's not like some medical facility. It's a foster home. It's usually someone's home in a neighborhood, right? So if they're going to put the baby back in that environment, why not put him back with the parents where the breast milk that the mother is feeding the baby with is vitally important for the child to get. So it wasn't about medical, really. It was about, for some reason, I don't know if there's because they're friends with Ammon, because they're patriots. Don't know what it is. I think it was political. But did you guys hear that they were starting to concoct a story that it was the child's development that they were concerned with, or was that a false report?
The CPS was making all kinds of accusations, and a lot of that was gag orders that had been put on it. But they were making all kinds of horrific accusations against this family, trying to keep this child. But 2 doctors of this family testified in that first CPS hearing, testified on behalf of these parents, saying that the baby should be released, should be back with the parents. There was no reason to keep the baby in the hospital. And the judge and the CPS workers totally ignored those 2 credible doctors that had been seeing the family for months, and all the way from the birth of the baby. So the CPS is just making unfounded accusations against this family. They didn't know the baby. The CPS agents didn't. It was just totally lies.
One of my
it was politically motivated.
Oh yeah. One of my missions in life is to have CPS completely dismantled, and if not completely eliminated, built back up again, with really the putting children and families first back in mind. What do you think this is going to be a springboard, fellas? Do you think the tension, and I think that's why they probably backed off for a variety of reasons, because they realized that if more attention got put on CPS, the whole entire con, the whole scam is about to be uncovered. That's why I think they sort of backed off, because they realized this could be a flashpoint, especially with the amount of membership in the People's Rights Group, for crying out loud. This could have gotten really, really big attention really fast. It could have had another Bundy Ranch type of effect or something. Do you think that was on their mind? Do you think that they were kind of thinking, oh boy, we better just, learn to fight, live to fight another day, and just back off on this one, because this one could expose our whole entire fraud? You guys have any thoughts on that?
I think clearly, absolutely. They're used to a little bit of pushback, but frequently when they do this, they have families that are embarrassed. And of course, no family is perfect. No parent is perfect. And of course, there's embarrassment attached to this. So frequently they get parents, moms and dads that put up a small fight or not much of a fight at all. But in this case, they were dealing with there was 2 sides to the coin, really. Number one, it was politically motivated, because the family was a very Christian, religious family, and they were friends. The grandfather's a friend of Ammon Bundy, and so they're associated with Ammon Bundy. They had put on events with Ammon Bundy in the past, and so it was clearly targeted. But at the same time, they were messing with a tiger, which is honestly, Ammon Bundy has a large network of supporters and friends. And so they're messing with a very large network, which I think was the key in this case. But I can tell you that in the long term, I don't think anything is going to change until the budgets are cut. There's too much money. There has to be major budgets cut. And some of that is federal. I hate to say it. It's not just the state of Idaho. But there's federal money that pours into these child protective services institutions. And nothing will change, in my opinion, until there are massive budget cuts.
No, you're absolutely right, my friend. There is You're right. Government is involved with it, but they wouldn't even. And I've had a lot of shows on this. They wouldn't even necessarily have to, with all respect, they wouldn't even necessarily have to cut the budget. They just have to change the way the money flows. Right now, the money flows if you take a child from a family and you foster care it out into another foster home. That's when the cash kicks in. If you just change that and said, if you get the family back together again and you provide, whatever it is, parental training, whatever's necessary for the family to come back together, and then the money flows, that would be a much different situation. But right now, they're encouraged to separate families and destroy lives and send kids out into foster care. And what happens is, overall, once they get into to foster care, 50% of the children in foster care end up in the penal system. So it's almost like they got them in the system for life. This is a diabolical cash cow, really, is what it is. And they just, the casualties of the families littered all across the country, devastated because their children have been taken. I don't know if there's a question there. I'm just, it's my diatribe. I can't stand CPS. I hate them. I can't stand them. What happens now, folks, or guys? I heard that they have some stipulations where they're allowed to come and visit them whenever they want, or there's some parameters that were involved. There was some horse trading going on there, and they got the baby back with some parameters or some stipulations. You guys know anything about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the parents were desperate to get their baby back. That was their main goal, just to get the baby back in their home. They did sign some agreements with CPS to get that to happen yesterday. And I can't say I might not do anything different if I want to get my child back. But they did have to sign some things, and they are going to follow up with some doctor's visits. They were not trying not to take their baby to the doctor. So that was all part of the plan anyway. They want their baby healthy. They want their baby to live. That they was never trying to harm that baby. So the parents, some of this they were already going to do. They was trying to get help for the baby. Unfortunately, they did have to sign some of that stuff with CPS to monitor. So they're going to be monitored. They're going to be watched strictly for probably the next couple of months, hopefully less. But yeah, unfortunately, they did.
So, John, yesterday, I think you had sent out a text, I believe, or you had a video, I believe, if I remember, on Facebook, where you had stated that there are several families that showed up there that are being victimized as well. Talk a little bit, if you can, about that. I'm sure it's not exactly, no situation is exactly the same, but are we talking about families that seem to be loving families and care about their children, but their children have been taken? Can you talk about that a little bit? And secondly, I'd like to get in touch with some of those people and talk to them, perhaps at some other point. But John Lamb.
Yes, they're trying to get their story out, and I'm trying to investigate some of these to make sure what type of situation. But there's one young lady particular that said, "Please don't forget my baby. My baby's name is Franklin. They took my baby a month ago from St. Luke's, and I love my baby. I haven't harmed my baby. It's all over medical too." She claims. I haven't checked out all these yet, but the lady seems like she's telling the truth, and she wants her baby back. She's, "Don't forget me. Don't forget my baby Franklin." Another young lady came down there and talked to us yesterday, showing pictures of her baby that was taken over a year ago that she hasn't had. And she just kept showing us the pictures of her baby and saying, "Help me." Another young girl, which was very a sad story. She said she was 19 years old now, but she was taken by the CPS here in Boise when she was 6 years old. And she said, "I wanted to go back with my parents and they wouldn't let me. My parents were loving parents." And she said she moved back home after she left foster care, that they were never abusive. So these stories are just horrific, sad stories from these other people begging us to help them. Say, "Don't forget us." And I'll get you in touch if you like with these other parents, these other people.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I'm kicking back off starting next week on my critical disclosure broadcast on Bright Town Radio. I'm going to start covering CPS cases again and interviewing parents. I've already got 2 or 3, I think, lined up for next week. It's time that we expose these crooks. It's time that this has to end. And you guys are, I don't know how familiar you are with CPS, but this is just one case amongst tens of thousands of cases all across the country, and into the hundreds of thousands. If you go back since the inception of CPS, maybe millions of children have been removed from families. And you're right, Roger. It is a cash. It's big time money, and there, during the course of my investigation, I've come across situations where up to 25 people got paid, and some of them just $100, like the valet, but they get paid. There's a whole network of crooks that really work together to steal children and profit from it. I mean, just saying it like it is, fellas. I'm not gonna soft sell it here. So what we need to do is, I think, my thought would be to springboard from this incident right here. I know that the family's happy to have their baby Cyrus back, and they're probably going to enjoy that time for a couple of days. Have they gotten the gag orders? They have gag orders from the courts, these unlawful gag orders that just violate your First Amendment. To show me in the Constitution where the judge can just have you not have free speech, but that's another whole topic altogether. Is there gag orders on these guys, on the family, Roger and John? Do you know?
I believe there are, and remember, some of the gag orders are written, and some of it is just not written. It's just threats and warnings where parents are told, hey, if you make a big deal out of this and you start criticizing and going public on social media, things are going to be even worse for you. And so and by the way, this happens a lot, where parents are almost threatened and warned. They better not speak up. They better not say anything. They better not complain, or it's going to be, or they'll never see their child again.
Yeah, I know that Marissa and Levi had to sign a gag order when they went into the first CPS hearing. So it was very scary to them. And I know they did not want to talk about anything that, to get them in trouble, not to get to see their baby again. I believe that gag order still is in effect for at least that part of that hearing.
A gag order put in place to violate your First Amendment rights by someone that you pay, whose salary you pay. You can't even talk about your own child. How about they call the hospital and they told Levi, yeah, we're not going to give you that information. The father. The hospital's like, yeah, we're not going to get that. We're not going to give you that info. I mean, this is just these tyrants are just out of control, and they're kidnapping children. Everything. It's a kidnapping ring. I mean, and not to mention, Roger, you know this. These people are service corporations. They're service corporations. You know this. They're service corporations. They don't even have the right to do what they do. I mean, they. Well, I don't want to get into that whole thing, man. I'm
glad you brought that up, because what's so interesting is Judge Lori Fortner is a lawyer. She's not even really a judge. She's not a voted-in judge. She's just appointed as a family court judge through the CPS. These are not constitutional courts.
No
constitutional rights at all in these courts.
No, it's all a fraud. It's all a fraud. And Roger, let me ask you, being with your legal expertise, are we properties of the state? Are we their property? Do we belong to the state? Because you can only really command people and take their children and order them and direct them to do things if they're your property. Free people don't have to listen to those commands. Do you think that they think that we're their property, Roger? I mean, why do they think they can get away with this? Because people just don't know their rights? What is it?
Exactly. I believe that in the eyes of the government class, we are property. The government owns us. You just think about the idea of in the United States of America, just the idea that when you miss a doctor appointment, that government then has the authority to take your child without any inquiry, any hearings, any due process, without even warning. By the way, there was no warning. They literally were stopped at a gas station by Boise, Idaho police, who just took their child, actually lied to them, actually got the mother, cajoled her away from the others. There were a couple others. Her sister was there, got her into the ambulance with the baby, away from the sister that would, in other words, away from other people that would also resist.
The father was handcuffed at the time.
And yeah, that's absolutely correct. Father was handcuffed. So they were led to believe, the mother was led to believe she could go to the hospital with the baby. So they convinced her and tricked her, lied to her, just blatantly lied, said, get in the ambulance. Once they got her in the ambulance alone without her support, which were outside handcuffed, Then they said, no, you can't even come to the hospital with your baby. We're going to take your baby from you. And they actually tore that baby from that mother's arms. And so, yeah, we've reached a point in America where government believes they control every aspect of our lives, and they own everything about us.
1 million per child.
Well,
Yeah.
that's that paradigm is changing. That paradigm that they are in control of us and there are overlords. They want to continue to remain in that position, certainly, but they're not going to be there for very much longer. That's my view, because the stuff that's coming out and the information that is being exposed on many, many different levels, they never wanted any of this stuff to come out and for the public to realize. Even having these news reports and exposing CPS is nothing but a child trafficking, money laundering crime cabal, which is basically what they are. No one's ever sent me any evidence to prove that. I've made that statement 50 times on air. Not one time has anybody sent me evidence to prove me wrong, but I continue to get evidence over and over again to prove what I just said is right. So until someone proves to me that they're not a money laundering, child trafficking cabal, I'm going to continue to call them that, because that's how I see them. Fellas, we're going to get this, we're going to go ahead and wind this down. I know you guys are there. Appreciate all the work that you've done. You're probably worn out from all the protests and everything that's been going on, and probably just I can imagine you just probably got to take a couple of days just to decompress, and I appreciate that. But I appreciate you guys coming on here and taking the time to be on the show this morning. I'm going to give you guys each a minute to go ahead and finish up and say anything you'd like to say. If you want to give out any websites, anything coming up that you, any events you have coming up, or anything you want to talk about, I'll give you guys each a minute, and then we'll go ahead and close out the broadcast. Over to you first, Roger.
Yeah, well, I'm a libertarian activist, of course. I recently filed for Congress.
That's right. I saw that.
As a candidate for libertarian candidate for U.S. Congress. Of course, the Montana's been split in two. We now have 2 Congress seats instead of 1. And starting this year, and I will be running there will be a libertarian primary. It's sort of a strange story. I could go on and on, but we probably don't have the time. But it appeared that 2 other libertarians, quote unquote, that nobody knows, filed in that same race against Matt Rosendale to be libertarians. And then I was talking with people in the Libertarian Party who convinced me to run to basically primary them. We don't even know who they are, and get them. Anyway, bottom line is you asked for websites. I will be developing some campaign websites. I also run an institution called Lysander Spooner University, and I have a website, lysanderspooneruniversity.com. Based on the heritage of the great writer, liberty freedom writer in the 1800s, Lysander Spooner in Massachusetts. And I'm doing many other projects, of course, as you know, and I'm continuing lots of other things. And we're going to have some events later this summer, Lysander Spooner University events.
Next time you're in town, Roger, in Kalispell, come on by the studio. Stop on by if you're going to be in town again. John, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, I'm also running for U.S. Congress out of Montana.
Fantastic.
So I'm in the Western District, District 1. Roger's in District 2 on the Eastern District. I'm running primarily because of Ryan Zinke. I don't like some of his principles, and I don't think he's a true Republican. So anyway, that's my opinion. So I can be found at John Lamb, Last Free Man. And so I stand for freedom and our Constitution, and I want to turn this country back around.
Well put. We just got a message in the chat room here that someone said they heard yesterday that the Libertarian Party will not be on the ballot in Montana. Is that something that you guys have heard?
No, that's just not true. We qualified for ballot access with our last showing at the last election. We don't have to gather any signatures. Now in Montana, of course, after someone files for office, they have 5 days to fill out forms for the campaign finance police. What do they call it? The political practices czar.
Right.
So so when candidates file and then they have 5 days to fill that out, sometimes people don't even know about it and they don't fill it out and they get removed from the ballot. But no, the Libertarian Party is on the ballot because we won sufficient votes at the last election to stay on the ballot without signatures. So I think that's mostly misinfo. There might be candidates who have till Monday to fill out their political practices forms, and if they don't, they will be removed.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, fellas, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the work that you guys have done down there. You and many others certainly have done there in Idaho and helped to get Baby Cyrus back. We do appreciate, you guys are on the front lines. I'm here in the studio. You guys are out there on the front lines, and appreciate you guys doing what you do. Thanks so much for coming on the broadcast here at such short notice. Take some time and just sort of, like I said, decompress. And I know you guys have probably been through a lot the last couple of days. And again, we appreciate both you fellows being here on the broadcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. You guys take care. Tell Nick I said hey, and thanks a lot for letting me for stepping in with the phone. We'll catch you guys later.
Yes.
All right.
We've got top-notch technical.
Okay, folks. We appreciate John Lamb being on with Roger Roots. So this ended up well. This was a good ending with with Baby Cyrus, and we're delighted that it turned out the way that it did. Move this over here a little bit. Let's see if I go this way. This is messed up here in the video. I can't get this name centered. At any rate, we wanted to have those fellows on the broadcast and kind of get a word from them right there in Idaho about what went on. So this is a good ending. It typically doesn't end this way. It doesn't end well when CPS is involved. At least it doesn't end this well. So we're thankful for all the people that went down there and got involved, and that sounded like that made the difference. So I want to thank John Lamb and Roger Roots for being on the broadcast here. And as I stated, starting Monday on Critical Disclosure, I'll be working on the website this weekend. I'm going to start interviewing parents for CPS again, and we're going to start exposing this corrupt child trafficking, money laundering, crime cabal that's operating with impunity pretty much across the nation. There's judges involved, there's police involved, there's guardian ad litems involved, there's teachers involved. I mean, folks, it's insidious what's going on, and we aim to expose it. So we do appreciate your support. Thanks so much for looking in here on the broadcast. Until next time, this is James White for Northwest Liberty News saying bye now.